Hey guys, welcome to Blaugrana. Welcome to another video, and today is time to do, you might see it on your screen right now, but it's time to get ahead in the bandwagon and start doing a tier maker about Barcelona's 2019-2020 squad tier list. It is, what can you say? It's gonna be an interesting video. I don't know how this is gonna go. It might be really fast, might take a bit of time. I'm gonna be discussing my decisions going forward. There's 27 players that are gonna be discussed in this video, but without further ado, let's go ahead and get with the tier list. So we have 5 categories. They're all pretty much self-explanatory. You have sold in the summer, meaning doesn't mean that they're bad players. It just means that they're players that, in my opinion, need to be, need to go. Are for me players that cannot be at Barcelona any longer. That for more than this season, we need to start moving them on and bringing in other players that are going to be here for the next couple of years. There's also need of a loan. Players that could feature in the squad this season, but that for their progression, in order for them to get more game time, a good loan to a team that is going to suit their needs might be very important for them. We also have fighting for a spot, which it's very explanatory. They're all good players in the squad, but not everyone can start. There's only 11 starters, and are players that need to give it all if they want to be guaranteed minutes in the squad going forward. We have the untouchables, players that have featured so well so far that there's no explanation why they need to start every game. And even if they have 1 or 2 bad games, we need to keep trusting them, and they need to keep starting and be really important for this season. And then we have the GOAT status, which there's no explanation about it. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the video. So we start here with Ronald Araujo. Ronald Araujo, I'm gonna put, in a need of a loan. We have so far 4 center backs, 4 first team center backs in Piqué, Todibo, Umtiti, Lenglet. I don't think that we need another center back. I think Ronald Araujo, I've seen good things of him. I think he could be a good center back. He kind of looks to me like the Uruguayan Todibo. It's very similar actually, and could be an interesting center back going forward. Maybe if we don't sign another center back like Matthijs de Ligt or the Skriniar or something like that, maybe we could put our trust in Araujo going forward. But for the time being, we don't need him, and a loan to a team where he could play a lot of minutes could be very beneficial. Then we have Sergio Busquets, and as very surprising as for a lot of you might be, I'm gonna put him in fighting for a spot, because I think Sergio Busquets is a player that has played really well for Barcelona in the past, but for the past few seasons he has just not been at his level, and especially physically this season has looked very out of shape. Like he just doesn't have not only the mental speed that he needs to play the game, but he seems to be arriving late for challenges and stuff like that. So I think if we can get the best version of Sergio Busquets, that's going to help us a lot. But the version of Sergio Busquets to be a good Barcelona version. Then we have Jordi Alba. I think Jordi Alba, he's an untouchable. There is no debate for me. He might do some stuff out of the field that I don't agree with, but his performance has been second to none. I mean, I'm not one to, call a player off just because of one mistake in one game of the season. Your season is not defined by one game. You could have chosen a better game to not make mistakes, but those mistakes against Liverpool were not only his own. We didn't lose just because of Jordi Alba, so his performance has been that for me the best left back in the world. I think he's been better than Andy Robertson, in all honesty, and he's been absolutely fantastic. So there's no like Firpo's good, but for the time being, Jordi Alba is world class. We have Marc-André ter Stegen, for me the best goalkeeper in the world, and you know is probably the only other player that I was considering putting in the GOAT status, but there is only one player that can compare to that, that can be in that role. So being very close, I think ter Stegen has just given us a lot. He, for me, is the best goalkeeper in the world, definitely the best goalkeeper for Barcelona. We couldn't ask for someone better. He's good with his hands, good with his feet. He has saved us on numerous times against really difficult opposition, against really hard shots. And someone like ter Stegen, I hope that he can be at Barcelona for a lot of years, and especially that he hopefully can be Barcelona captain in years to come. We have Neto, for me, the first player that I would put in the summer transfer list. I think he's a good keeper. I really think he's a good keeper, actually. I rate him a lot. I think that he's quite good. It's just that we don't need a player that good for second position because we have ter Stegen. And there is another player in this tier list that I would like him to get some minutes to be the backup of ter Stegen, because I think that for a backup, he's good enough. So, you know, Neto's good, but we don't need two world-class goalkeepers at Barcelona. I just think that that's not beneficial for the starter or for the backup. We have Antoine Griezmann, who needs to fight for a spot. He arrived at Barcelona and I would have said untouchable, but for the attitude that he's been showing this season, I just think that he doesn't warrant the starting spot just from the get-go. He needs to fight for it. He needs to start moving. He needs to start losing that Atletico Madrid mentality of everyone's going to play for me and therefore everyone works for me. At Barcelona, it doesn't happen. The reference here is Lionel Messi, and everyone needs to work not only for Messi, but they need to work for the team. Because Messi, to a point, works for the team in the way that he can. But you being Griezmann, you just arrived at Barcelona, need to give it your all and perform at your very best if you are going to be a starter for the team. Abel Ruiz, he hasn't played this season, and I think that alone it will suit him very well. He's a really promising striker. I actually think that Abel Ruiz could be an interesting option to be given at Barcelona. Like, we see that Carles Perez is a very good forward, but I think Abel Ruiz has a higher ceiling. Like, he could actually be a really top quality player. And maybe give him some minutes in La Liga. Like, just playing Segunda Vez is not enough for him. He is a really good player that needs more minutes at a better league with better quality, you know, in order for him to improve and get the best version of himself. We have Samuel Umtiti. It is surprising, but I never thought that after the World Cup that he did and the really good season that he has had for Barcelona that he was going to be on this position. But for the time being, he needs to fight for the spot, because with Lenglet that has had fantastic performances and Piqué, who has been at a really good level, and him with injuries, it's just not helped his case. He needs to be at a better level. He needs to get the best version of himself in order for us to be able to, you know, secure that position. Otherwise, we're gonna have to move on from him. But I think that he can fight for his spot, and that he can be back. But he can go back to being one of the best center backs in the world for sure. We have Sergio Roberto, and I was close to putting Sergio Roberto in sold in the summer, and I'm this close to doing so. But for the time being, we're gonna say let's trust in him. Let's see how his season is gonna go. If we're insisting in playing him at fullback position, at the midfield position, and he doesn't adapt and he doesn't do the roles that we need in midfield, then I just don't see a future for Sergio Roberto at Barcelona. But if he can, you know, be energetic, maybe, you know, get a mentality like one of Arturo Vidal, or, you know, just a player that's gonna not only, like, he's gonna be a runner. We need, like, I would encourage him to, like, look at videos of maybe Luis Enrique when he was at Barcelona, or something like that. Like, a midfield is gonna be a runner that's gonna score some goals. That you don't need like a lot of good quality or technique. You just need to be a runner that's gonna give you a lot of movement for other players to use the space that he's gonna leave. So I think that could be a really important role for Sergio Roberto. But if he doesn't start performing, I don't see a future for him at right back. And at midfield, if he doesn't improve, then he needs to get sold. We have another untouchable, Clement Lenglet. For me, he's been absolutely fantastic. I really had doubts, like, not about his quality. I thought when Barcelona signed him, I thought it was a really good signing, but it's surprising that how quickly he's adapted to Barcelona. Like, I always thought that he was going to be a really good player, but we haven't missed Umtiti at all. Like, Lenglet has made it so that we have a really good partnership. He understands himself very well with Piqué, and it's not being very, we haven't missed Umtiti at all. Like, Lenglet has earned that position with all his hard work, and for the time being, he's untouchable for me. He needs to be starting every game because he's shown that he's a really good center back, and he's still young and has a lot of years to progress. We have Nelson Semedo. For me, another untouchable. He's a player that needs to be at Barcelona for a lot more years. He could have left in the summer. There was apparently interest from other teams, but Semedo for me is a player that we've seen it report to goal these past few games. We've seen it with Barcelona in the past couple of games this season. He's been actually really good. Is he the best version of Dani Alves? No, he's not. But he can get to a really good level where he can become one of the best fullbacks in the world. And honestly, I consider him one of the best right backs in the world. Maybe not at the level of Trent Alexander-Arnold, but if he can have a really good season, he could get there. Like, he could get to a level where he can beat the best fullback in the world. Therefore, we must give him, the opportunities, give him the minutes, because he's shown that defensively and going forward especially, he is progressing a lot, and it can give us a lot with his speed and depth in that position. We have Lionel Messi. He cannot fall in another position that, as the GOAT, he is the best player in the world of all time. I'm not going to say that would ever be, but because I don't know that. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but replacing Lionel Messi, it's next to impossible, and we've missed him all of the season. For the 2019-2020 season, we haven't been able to get the best Lionel Messi just yet, and I hope that we can, because if we can do that, if we can have a player like Messi at Barcelona, then I think that would be great. That would be extremely beneficial for us. Obviously, he's a player that when the team kind of collectively gives him the opportunity to succeed, then Messi shines and he can, break tactics from other managers and be the key difference going forward like no other player can be in world football. We have now Gerard Piqu, and I have to say that it's hard to make this video because Piqué, for me, is a player that's still really good level. If it wasn't because of the antics out of the pitch, I would say untouchable, or at least fighting for a spot very close to untouchable. But the thing is that, he's prone to making some mistakes. He has been really good for the past season, and for this season he's been actually pretty decent. But his attitude in the pitch of being the, encouraging sitting back and counter-attacking mentality that we have at Barcelona, and the antics that he does out of the pitch is just, for me, enough. I've had enough of Piqué, and I think that we were not able to sign Matthew League this summer because of Piqué, that he didn't want to lose minutes this season. It is absolutely unbelievable, and we need to move on from him. We need to, rebuild a new era at Barcelona, and we cannot do that with Gerard Piqué at the club. Now we have Carles Aleñá. I would send him on loan. I think that he's a player that, unfortunately for me, it's not worked out at Barcelona. Like, so far he hasn't been given the proper minutes because our midfield building has been horrendous. We have too many players and he's not able to succeed, and I think that a loan for 6 months, for like a year, would be really good. When he comes back, hopefully we're gonna have a midfield that's a lot thinner. But for the next season and for the remainder of this season, I think that he could be sent down on loan, train at a really, maybe a team like Betis, a team like maybe Eibar, a team that's gonna give him the opportunity to succeed, and in like Primera División and play some really good quality minutes would be very beneficial for a player like Aleñá. And when he comes back, maybe he can go in there, fight for a spot in the first team. We have now Carles Perez. For me, he is a player that can also fight for a spot. I was close to putting him in for need of a loan, but with the current Barcelona attack that we have with Messi, Suarez, Griezmann, Dembele, all of them for me doubts going forward. At least, well, Messi's not a doubt, but you know what I mean. Like, he's not able to press. Suarez is not pressing. Griezmann's mentality and Dembele are, I don't know what the hell's going on. So, giving someone that's giving a lot of attitude, that's giving a lot of energy is very important for us. And if he does well, he needs to be a starter. For me, he has deserved to start so far this season, and he needs to start games going forward because he has given it much more effort than the other players named above. We have another player, and that is Frenkie de Jong. I think Frenkie has been absolutely unbelievable so far this season. Like, he's been good. He's a player that last season was outstanding, and he is being really good this season, but it's not being the best version of Frenkie de Jong. And for the time being, I don't think we're going to be seeing the best version of Frenkie de Jong because Barcelona don't play exactly the way that suits his playstyle. But when I see him with the Netherlands, to see that we didn't do a bad investment. It's a really good investment, and when all the pieces click and work perfectly fine, we are gonna get a player that's gonna be one of the best, if not the best player in the world in his possession. And the future is very bright with Frenkie de Jong at the center of midfield. Now we have, who is this? We have Junior Firpo. I think Junior Firpo, he needs to go into fighting for a spot with Jordi Alba because he is a player that is not like Jordi Alba should need to start every game this season if he's fit, because he gives us a lot and he has played at an unbelievable level. But going forward, Junior Firpo needs to start fighting for a spot in the coming seasons. He needs to start taking minutes off Jordi Alba and start performing at a really high level, and maybe, who knows, he could earn that spot as Barcelona's first team left back, because definitely the qualities, physical attributes, technical attributes, he has all of them, and it could be very beneficial for Barcelona going forward. We have Ousmane Dembele, again another player that for me needs to fight for a spot at Barcelona. He should be an untouchable by now, but the board haven't done a really good, like, complexion of the team. They haven't built a squad in a way that Dembele is going to be able to get a lot of minutes. This season, he has the opportunity to do a lot of minutes, and it's his fault and it's Valverde's fault that they haven't been able to succeed, because he's a player that should be succeeding at Barcelona and hasn't just yet. But going forward, if he can be professional, if we understand how to use him properly and start talking to him and teach him how to do things, he can become soon an undesignated starter that is going to be playing a lot of minutes and scoring a lot of goals. Because for me, Dembele has the potential to score, between 30 goals and giving like 20 assists or something like that, because he's absolutely ridiculous, the potential that he has. We have Artur Melo. For me, Barcelona's best, second best performance this season behind Ter Stegen. Artur has been just absolutely ridiculous. He has been better than Frenkie de Jong, he's been better than Busquets, he's been better than anyone in this team. It's really good to see that Artur has been at such high level. I was really worried about maybe a little bit his weight and how he ended last season, but he's been unstoppable this season. And with Frenkie de Jong and Artur, we have our center midfield secure for the next couple of years. Now we just need to find a complement to work in that midfield three, and also, start making the team younger, more hungry for titles, so all the players go at once and run and press and do everything that they need to do in the pitch. We have Iñaki Peña, a player that I think needs to go for a loan. What I've seen of Iñaki Peña, I think it's very convincing, and for Valverde to like Iñaki Peña that much, because we've seen things that Valverde likes a player like Iñaki Peña as a goalkeeper, I think we should give an opportunity, because Valverde is not one to really go for youngsters unless he really needs to, and he seems to be involved in a lot of training sessions. So maybe it could be very good to have him in the first team, and when give an opportunity. That's what a player from La Masia is for. You have Ter Stegen, who is your undisputed starter, and then you have Iñaki Peña, who's gonna be your backup and who could be a really good backup. If it doesn't work out, we go ahead and sign a short-term goalkeeper until we find someone else. And that's why I think that Neto needs to go so Iñaki Peña can have a place in this team. We have Moussa Wagué, another player that for me needs to go on loan. For the time being, I think Sergio Roberto needs to rotate between right back and center midfield, and that's what I initially thought that it was going to happen. We ended up promoting Moussa Wagué, who hasn't been playing at all this season, and I just don't understand, because Wagué needs to, he's a good player, and I think that as a backup for Semedo could be really good, even to fight for a spot in the future. But the thing is that he at the moment doesn't have a place in the team, and if Sergio Roberto starts performing really well between playing minutes in midfield and in the football possession, he is going to leave Wagué with no position in this team, and maybe going on loan, progressing as a player would be very beneficial for him. We have Ivan Rakitic, a player that he needs to go. He needs to go not only this summer, he needs to go in January. He's not happy with the minutes that he's been not given. Well, what he said about my position is guaranteed. Well, yeah, it's guaranteed by Artur. That's where your position is, guaranteed by Artur and Frenkie de Jong. He's not a player that I want to see him going out badly at Barcelona. Like, he's for me a legend at this club. He's done a lot for us. He's given us a lot of good years, and I would like him to maybe come back at Barcelona at some point later on when he decides to retire, maybe be part of the board or something like that. But for the time being, as a player, he cannot stay longer at Barcelona. He's stopping progression from players like Aleñá, Riqui Puig, other center midfielders that we're considering. So it's just not being a use. We have other players that can do the same thing that Rakitic, if not better. So player like Ivan Rakitic, I think that we should have sold him this past summer, or like a year before that, when Paris Saint-Germain were offering 19 million for him. But we didn't do that, and now we just have to look to offload him to any team that we can. We have Riqui Puig, who for me needs to be fighting for a spot at Barcelona. And this is what I mean that we've built a squad really badly, because this is a player that we should be looking to, like. But what does Barcelona look for me in 10 years? It looks like Frenkie de Jong, Artur, and Riqui Puig. What players do we have right now? Frenkie de Jong, Artur, and Riqui Puig. If we have all those three players, why is he not in the first team? Why is Riqui Puig not in the first team, trying to get some minutes and being given progressively like more minutes and more minutes so he can progress as a player and be in that midfield three eventually? Because physically maybe he's not quite ready, but technically and his positional awareness is absolutely unbelievable. So he's a player that is not only for the future, but for now. He's giving assists, he's scoring goals, his distribution is really good. The organization that he gives the team, the pace that he settles, it's really, really good. And Riqui Puig, for me, needs to be fighting for a spot and definitely needs to be promoted to the first team going forward next season. We have Jean-Claire Todibo, another player that for me needs to fight for a spot. The minutes that he played last game were really good against Sevilla, and I think that he's actually a really promising center back. We only paid 1 million for him from Toulouse, and I think that going forward he's a player that can give us all. He's really young. He can give competition for Longley and Umtiti, and without Piqué, we said maybe another player like Matches the League or something like that. And I think a player like Todibo could be a really good starter, or even a really good fourth center back. They could give us a lot going forward in the couple years to come. We have Arturo Vidal, a player that for me as well needs to be fighting for a spot at Barcelona. And I was debating between putting him as an untouchable or a fighting for the spot, but because of his age, and that is the best Barcelona be with Arturo Vidal this season? Probably, but is the best Barcelona going forward? Is the ideal Barcelona the best with Arturo Vidal? Not really. Arturo Vidal is a player that when we need intensity, that is here just to give us intensity, to give intensity to his team. He's a player that is good quality, that has good technique, good quality with the ball. He is not what the people make him out to be as just busting his ass in the pitch. No, he's a player that has good quality because he has been with Guardiola, and Guardiola still clearly seemed to like him. So he has good technique, definitely. He's good technically, tactically. He's very smart in that sense, and I think that he could give us a lot this season. And definitely for me, needs to be starting now. And even if Busquets start performing at a really great level, Arturo Vidal, with all that he's done for us, for the time being, needs to be fighting for a spot this season. Luis Suarez for me needs to be sold in summer. And this is not the most popular thing to say right now, because Luis Suarez, at the end of the day, yes, he scored unbelievable goals, and Luis Suarez is always going to be able to score your unbelievable goals, because in the penalty area, he's one of the best in the world. It's unbelievable what he can do with a football, how many ways he can finish the ball. But the thing is that we are done. I'm done with having Suarez in this team, and it's not that Suarez is over as a player. It's just that he's over to being a Barcelona. We cannot have Suarez and Messi at the same time. And because I'm not going to give up Messi, then Suarez needs to be sold in the summer, because he finishes his contract in 2021. We are not going to be able to get much money out of him. He's probably going to go to Miami or something like that, to an easier league. Or who knows, he might go to Ajax, Liverpool, I don't know. Wherever he decides to go, I wish him the best. He's always going to be, for me, the best ever striker to play for Barcelona. He's definitely the one that's given the best performances for the team, and he's a player that for me has had a career at the level of Cristiano Ronaldo. But for the time being, we don't need him. He's a hindrance to this team, and we need younger players that are going to have a lot more energy, so they're able to run the yards that Messi does. That Messi doesn't at this moment of his career, because Messi going forward is still going to give us a lot more than another player that's going to be able to run, but it's not going to give us the same attacking output that Messi does. So for this to happen, either Suarez needs to be back to being 25 years old in his prime, or he needs to go. And the last player, Ansu Fati, the revelation this season. He's been absolutely unbelievable. He is being world class. And it's been very interesting to have a player like Ansu Fati at Barcelona. I definitely fancy him. He's been absolutely fantastic so far. The impact, the confidence, he's just not afraid of anything. He's not, and that's really good, because for players like Griezmann, Dembele, being motivated, definitely that must motivate him, and that must hit them in their ego, that a 16-year-old, because that's what he is. He's a 16-year-old, and he is having a lot more, he's playing a lot better than you. That must hit your ego, and I hope that can motivate those players to give the best version of themselves, because if we can do that, and we can on top of that have a Ansu Fati that's going to be a really good level from 16, and that can contribute for the team right now, I can only imagine what he's going to do when he's 21, 22, 23, and is at the best version of himself physically, technically, and tactically. And with all this said and done, this has been the end of the tier list. It was quite a long video, to be honest, but I love making tier list. I love making this one. If you guys want me to do another tier list about another team and about another topic in world football, maybe like the best leagues, the best players, anything that you guys want me to do, I will try to do it. If I like the idea, that would be great. If this gets a lot of likes, I will be putting another tier list. I could maybe do one weekly or every other week. That would be an interesting idea. But without further ado, leave me all your comments in the comment section below. What do you think about the tier list? Do you agree with me mostly? Do you not disagree with me? Leave me all your opinions about the players and their positions in the comment section below. Comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you next one, Blaugranas.